My wife said it's all in your head, but the heartfelt letters she wrote him proved me wrong. I watched her pack her suitcase, methodically folding each item, as if nothing was happening. The tension in the room was suffocating, and I couldn't stop myself from speaking. You're really just going to walk away, aren't you? My voice cracked at the end, betraying how much I didn't want to believe it, how much I couldn't process the reality of what was happening. She didn't even look up. I told you, it's all in your head. You're imagining things, Tom. Her tone was cold, distant, like she was trying to shut down any emotion before it could take root. But the words hit me harder than I expected. In your head. Those 3 words felt like a slap. I've been questioning myself for weeks, maybe months now, second-guessing everything I thought I knew about her, about us. And in the blink of an eye, she reduced all of it to nothing but a mental hiccup. Her eyes flicked briefly to mine, and there was a flicker of something. Regret? Guilt? But it vanished almost immediately as she turned back to her task. I took a step forward, desperate to hold on to whatever shred of her was left in the room. If it's all in my head, then why have I found these? I pulled out the first of the letters, one I had found hidden in the back of her drawer, folded neatly and sealed with his name on the envelope. It felt like I was holding a bomb, something dangerous, but I had to know. I had to know if I was losing my mind or if she was really slipping away from me. She froze, her body stiffening. Her hand dropped the shirt she was folding, but she didn't turn around. I stood there, holding the letter in front of me, feeling the weight of her silence pressing down on my chest. I don't know what you think you're going to accomplish with that, she said, her voice low, and something about it made my heart race. There was no panic, no real fear, just coldness, as though I was the one who was wrong for questioning her. You don't know the whole story. You don't understand him, or me, or anything. I shook my head, too stunned to respond immediately. How could she even say that? How could she make me feel like I was the one who didn't understand, when she was the one who had been hiding letters, love letters, from another man, for God's sake? For a second, I thought I might pass out, the room spinning, my vision narrowing, but I forced myself to breathe. I know enough, I said, trying to steady my voice. I know you've been writing him for months behind my back. I know you've been lying to me. My eyes burned as I said it, but I didn't stop. I had to know. I had to get her to admit it. Don't lie to me, Grace. You love him, don't you? Finally, she turned to face me, her face pale but expressionless. You don't get it, Tom, she whispered. You never did. It was a Tuesday night when I found the first letter. Grace and I had been together for 7 years at that point, married for 5. On the surface, everything seemed fine. We had our little routine. Weekends spent binge-watching shows, weekday evenings where we'd sit down for dinner together, just the 2 of us. But looking back, I guess there had been signs, small ones, that I chose to ignore. Her late-night text that she'd quickly shove away when I walked into the room. The way she'd become distant when I asked about her day, the time she started working late more often. Still, I convinced myself that it was just stress, that she was busy with work, that things would settle down. I should have trusted my instincts. The first letter wasn't much, just a short note folded in a way that looked too carefully planned to be accidental. At first, I thought it was just a letter from an old friend, maybe a colleague from the office. But when I saw his name written on the outside, I froze. Mark. I hadn't heard that name in years. He was an old college friend of Grace's, someone I had met a few times, but never really clicked with. I didn't think much of him back then, just another guy in her orbit. But when I read the first letter, I realized just how wrong I had been. It was affectionate, warm, full of inside jokes, and shared memories from their time in school. It didn't take much to piece together that these letters weren't innocent catch-ups. They were intimate. She talked about the way he made her feel, how he understood her in ways no one else could, how she had missed him over the years. The last paragraph of the letter nearly broke me. I've never been able to let go of you, even when I tried. You're the only one who truly sees me, and I need you. I want to be with you again. I don't think I understood the depth of the betrayal in that moment. I was too numb to fully process it. I had to read the letter a second time before I even realized the full scope of what she was saying. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? My mind was racing, my body tense with adrenaline and disbelief. How had she been so close to me, for all these years, and yet hidden something so big, something so hurtful, right under my nose. I confronted her the next morning. Her reaction wasn't the one I expected. There were no tears, no apologies. Instead, she claimed the letter didn't mean what I thought it meant. It was just a friendly thing, a memory of her past that had nothing to do with me. "Why are you making this so complicated, Tom?" she asked, her voice flat, almost impatient. "I love you. I don't want anyone else. It's just nostalgia. I don't know why I kept it. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. But my gut told me that something was deeply wrong. The more I dug, the more letters I found, hidden in drawers, tucked away in old notebooks, slipped between the pages of books I hadn't touched in years, each one more intimate than the last. The words she had written to him were so different from what she said to me. I'd been living in this bubble where everything felt okay, and now it felt like the whole thing was bursting open. The thing was, I couldn't tell anyone. I didn't know who I could talk to without sounding crazy. Everyone knew Grace as the perfect wife, the one who baked cookies for our neighbors, who helped out at the school, who always showed up with a smile. I was the lucky guy, the guy with the wife everyone envied. But now, the truth was unraveling, and I had no idea where to turn. All I could do was sit there, holding these letters, feeling the weight of each word she had written to him, feeling like I didn't know the woman beside me anymore. So, when she told me it was all in my head, when she made me feel like I was imagining everything, I thought I might lose my mind. I wanted to scream at her, to demand answers. But all I could do was stand there, watching her pack. I knew what I knew, but somehow I wasn't sure if it was enough. Part 2. I didn't sleep that night, and by morning, I felt like I had aged a decade. I kept replaying her words in my head. "It's all in your head," as if somehow the whole mess was my fault for being suspicious, for questioning her. It wasn't like me to be paranoid, or at least I didn't think it was. I'd always trusted Grace, always believed in the foundation we built. But now, that foundation felt like it was cracking under the weight of everything I'd uncovered. I needed answers. I couldn't keep pretending that nothing was wrong. When she left that morning, she didn't say goodbye. There was no hug, no kiss, no anything. She just walked out of the door, her suitcase rolling behind her. I stood in the entryway, the air still thick with the unresolved tension from the night before, unsure of what came next. I spent most of the day pacing around the apartment, staring at the letters, the words swirling in my head like a storm I couldn't stop. I couldn't focus on anything. Work was a blur, and when I tried to eat, it felt like I had swallowed glass. I had no more. If this was really happening, if she was really leaving me for him, I needed to understand why. Why Mark? Why now? The questions gnawed at me, and every attempt to calm myself only made them worse. That night, I sat down at my desk, staring at the pile of letters she'd written him. I started reading them again, one by one, trying to piece together the puzzle of their relationship, trying to find some thread of understanding that would explain why she had kept this from me for so long. The words blurred together in a haze, but one phrase jumped out. "I've never been able to let go of you." The way she had written it, so painfully honest, made my chest ache. The whole thing felt like some cruel joke, like she had been slipping away in slow motion while I was too blind to see it. I went back to the drawer where I found the letters, hoping maybe there was something else hidden away that would explain it all. But instead, I found something that made my stomach twist even further, a photograph of Grace and Mark, taken years ago at some school reunion. They were standing together, their arms around each other, smiling like they were in on some private joke. But there was something in the way they were looking at each other, something that made me feel like a complete stranger in my own home. I took the photo out, holding it in my hands like it was some kind of evidence, though evidence of what I wasn't sure. What was I supposed to do with this? The photo didn't make me feel any better. It just made everything feel more real, more final. It wasn't until the following day that I got a message from Grace. A simple text. "We need to talk." I knew she was coming back. I didn't want to see her, not like this, not with all the anger and hurt still swirling in me. But part of me, the part that was still holding on to the idea of fixing things, told me I had to. Maybe she'll explain herself, I thought. Maybe there's a reason. But the other part, the part that had been betrayed, was already shutting down, already ready to walk away and never look back. The truth was, I didn't know how I felt anymore. I wasn't sure if I could forgive her. She arrived late in the afternoon, looking tired and pale, as though she hadn't slept either. When I opened the door, she stood there for a moment, just looking at me, as if trying to figure out where to start. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, but it wasn't enough. It felt so empty. "Sorry?" "Grace," I started, my voice shaking. "You can't just say sorry. You can't just explain away all of this with one word. I need to know why." I held up the letters again, my hands trembling. "Why him, Grace? What the hell is going on?" She sighed and took a step inside, looking around the apartment like she wasn't sure where to stand. "Tom, She paused, rubbing her eyes, as though trying to find the words. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated, anger rising. "You've been writing love letters to another man for months. What part of that is complicated?" She flinched at my tone, but didn't interrupt. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down, trying to make sense of this situation. "Tell me everything, Grace. No more secrets. No more lies." For a long moment, she stood there, biting her lip, her eyes flickering between the floor and me, like she was struggling to find the courage to say it. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mark and we had something before we met. It was a long time ago, but I never really let him go. When we reconnected recently, I don't know, Tom. I felt this pull again. It wasn't something I was expecting. I never thought it would happen, but it did. And I couldn't stop it. I thought I could, but I couldn't." I felt the world shift under me as I processed her words. You love him, don't you?" I asked, already knowing the answer. I couldn't look at her as I said it, couldn't bear the idea that the woman I had loved for so long had been keeping this secret from me. She hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. I don't know anymore, Tom. I don't know if I ever stopped loving him, but I do know that I love you. You're my husband, and I don't want to hurt you, but I don't want to lie to you either." The room felt like it was closing in on me, and I suddenly couldn't breathe. "So what now?" My voice was hoarse. "Do you leave me for him? Or are you going to keep playing this game, trying to figure out which one of us you want?" She shook her head, tears starting to well up in her eyes. "I'm not playing any games, Tom. I'm just lost. I don't know what to do." It wasn't a relief to hear that. If anything, it made everything worse, because I realized then that she was the one who didn't know. I had been so sure, so convinced that I understood our marriage, that I knew who Grace was, what she wanted. But now I was standing here, facing a woman who didn't even know what she wanted anymore. "Grace, I can't do this. I can't keep pretending that this is okay," I said, my chest tight with the weight of everything. "I don't know what happens next, but I can't live like this." She nodded, looking crushed, but I wasn't sure if it was regret for what she had done, or for what she had just torn apart. I wanted her to say something, anything to fix this, but she didn't. She just stood there, helpless, as if there was nothing left to say. And I didn't know what to do anymore either. The next few weeks were a blur. Grace and I barely spoke. She moved into a different apartment, but neither of us could bring ourselves to file for divorce, even though it seemed inevitable. Mark never came into the picture directly, but I could feel his shadow hanging over everything. In the end, I realized I didn't need to know everything. The truth was already too clear. Grace wasn't the woman I thought she was. And no matter how much I want to hold on, I knew that whatever we had was slipping away, and there was nothing I could do to stop it,